And it's one of the greatest miracles that I've ever faced in my life. In this video, I'm going to be sharing a testimony of how God delivered me from an unhealthy habit. And it's one of the greatest miracles that I've ever faced in my life, particularly. There was a moment when I was growing up, and we had this neighborhood, and there were different children growing up. And there was this particular lady or girl, she had this habit of always reading novels. Like, one of the things I hated, right, was reading. To me, reading was just for school, and reading for school was already punishment enough. To now pick that as a hobby or something. So, like, outside of school, I have the chance to do something, and then I'll decide that, oh, I want to read a book. Like, it was just not adding up to me, so it was not something that I could do. I mean, now I've grown up and I realize how beautiful reading is, but as at then, I'm just being honest, like, it just felt like torture to carry a book and to read it. A lot of parents around the community or neighborhood, they noticed that this particular girl was always with a book that she was reading. And so, parents, they would tease all the children and say, why can't you just be like, she's always reading? And I'm like, everything they're saying is just going through this year and going out this year, because, like, you can never, why would I carry a book? I'm doing enough reading already with my school books. Just a lot of teasing. Oh, you people should cultivate the habit of reading. Readers are learners. Readers, all of those quotes and everything that they always say. Well, I didn't feel bad. I did not even consider anything that they were saying, because as far as I was concerned, I was not going to be reading in school and also reading at home for or as a hobby. So then one time we had like a program in church, or we had a program coming up in church, and then the teenagers wanted to gather together and just rehearse a song. I remember we were rehearsing Tina, yeah. We are young. We're going to sing it in church. Man, it's so awesome growing up in church, honestly. There's so many things you do. So we're rehearsing that song, and I think we rehearsed the song and we're done. I don't even know why we were going to sing that song. I don't think we eventually got to sing that song. I don't know if it was approved or not approved, all of that. But then, when we're done with the rehearsals, we just kind of started to chat and just talk amongst ourselves. And then this older teenager, right, he just asked me, she's like, oh, do you read novels? I'm like, no, it's so boring. Like, I don't read novels. She's like, oh, it depends on the type of novels that you read. I want to recommend a novel for you that you would enjoy. I remember reading it and I'm like, wow.
Oh my God! Wow!
So this is what people are reading when they're saying, oh, they're reading novels. Like, if this is the novel that everybody is reading, then it's not difficult to read. I mean, because, like, it was my first exposure to reading romance novel. I read this book and I loved it, and then I started going back to her, obviously, for her to recommend me other books. Like, what other books can I read that looks like just this Harlequin's novel? I think I read a couple of other Harlequin novels then, but then, like, that was the beginning of like a very slippery, slope road. But that was the beginning of it, and from that very moment, I can't name the book. If it's like a romance book or something, I've read it. So I started reading all of this book. I read after. I downloaded Wattpad. Oh my god. I read so much novels on Wattpad, and then 50 Shades, like, so many books. I just started to read it. It was interesting. The flesh likes stuff like that, right? As far as I was concerned, right? Now I'm reading novels just like everybody. I'm reading novels. But it started to dawn on me that this was not right when I started to notice some things in me. The truth is, a lot of ladies or a lot of young girls will say that, oh, they don't watch pornography, they don't interact with pornographic content. And that's because we think that pornography is just like when you're watching those full-blown videos and stuff like that. But I'm very sure everybody knows as like popular knowledge, but if you don't, I'm just going to say it. But some of these books, some of these romance books, that are very spicy and very, like, expressive. They are the words that they are using are just very, very visual. Those are also forms of pornography, right? And I did not know that. And so you can understand how someone would easily get trapped in that addiction. And the surprising thing about human being is this, like, basic things that we learned in economics when we're growing up, when we're like small, is that human needs is insatiable. Like, you keep wanting more. You never get satisfied. You keep wanting more, and it just keeps graduating. Today this level of content is okay, but then another time you want something more, and then you just find yourself in just a place that is not supposed to be. And I realized that this was just getting very, very toxic for me. Some of the things I started to notice was brain fog, the inability to really focus. And just like the word foggy means, it's just a state of just cloudiness. Start to feel mentally cloudy. You're not able to think clearly. Like, it's just like you're in this, I don't know how to explain it, you're in this phase or in this mode where everything is just like, if you've ever experienced the fog, but then that's like, instead of it to just be like a fog, this is actually a an experience. Like, that's your experience, that's your life is just being in a foggy state every time. If you're having issues with just when things are being really foggy, you just translate automatically to lack of focus, reduced attention span, and so many other things like that. I think what broke the camel's back for me, or how did they say it, right? Like, the thing that was just like, wow, like the thing that happened to me that made me realize that, wow, this is just, this is serious, was objectifying thinking. And what that means is that, like, you just see people but not people, right? You see bodies, you see body parts and stuff like that. I don't want to get too, visual or graphic in what I'm trying to say, but that was for me very shocking. Like, you could be in the most productive spiritual atmosphere and your mind is just focusing or replaying some moments from something that you had just read. I mean, like, you're in a holy gathering, lifting holy hands, worshiping with brethren, and just this beautiful atmosphere, but your brain is just somewhere else, and you're unable to control, how fast your mind just travels to another space, travels to another scenario. And you start to objectify people, right? When you see someone, you see beyond them, right? You're seeing things that you should not necessarily be seeing. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say, but like, I think that was the most scary part for me. Like, I remember vividly one particular moment. I was in school, it was a school fellowship, and there was a large crowd of people. It was amphitheater, and we were worshiping. I think it was our Monday or Tuesday, gathering, and we are just worshiping. And in that beautiful atmosphere, right, just being able, a moment I'm supposed to be connecting with God, I just have like these thoughts from all of these things that I've been consuming just overwhelm my mind, and I just got disconnected from the service. And this scared me, like, this really, really scared me, because I wouldn't say like I was the best Christian. Obviously, I wouldn't say like I was doing everything perfect, but somewhere in my heart, one of the things that I cherished the most was my relationship with God. And I knew that I loved God. I knew that I loved the things that I've heard about God, and that I wanted to pursue a relationship with him. And just that moment where I was in the gathering, I was there trying to connect to God, and all of a sudden I was disconnected just because of something that I was, consuming. And you know that you're doing something that is not right because you can't necessarily talk about it to people. I mean, there's some people you can't talk about with, oh, are you reading this book? But to an extent, there are some things about it you also cannot talk about. So there's shame and guilt. So you know that you're dabbling into something you're not supposed to be dabbling into. There was just that moment, and from that moment I started to think, okay, how do I get free from this thing that I've gotten myself into? This is the testimony, honestly. And just one particular night, I knelt down by the bedside. At this point I was just done with it, and I can't remember the exact words I said, but the whole idea of the prayer is that, God, this habit or this thing that I've gotten myself into is restricting me from having a beautiful relationship with you. And it was a very, very sincere prayer. And I remember when I was praying this prayer, I had tears running down my eye. and I made sure that I was not speaking loud. So I was murmuring. So I was talking, not even murmuring, my mouth were moving. I was praying, but no sound was coming out. And the reason why that was happening for me was because of, I didn't want people to hear what I was praying about, right? You know that thing when maybe you're praying in church and you don't want your neighbors to know what exactly you're praying about, but you're actually praying about something. Yeah, this was personal to me. I didn't want everybody knowing that this was something I was struggling with. So my mouth was moving, I was really talking. I was like, God, this is a stumbling block, this is an hindrance between like both of us. Our relationship is not going to work if this thing is still here. So I just remember praying that prayer, and praying that prayer, it was like a burden just was lifted from me. It was like something just ceased immediately, like it was so instantaneous. And I knew at that moment that something had happened. It wasn't even a long prayer. I don't think I spent up to 10 minutes saying that prayer, right? But something happened, and I stood up. When I stood up, I went to pick up my phone and deleted Wattpad. That was the last time I ever deleted Wattpad, and then I went to bed and I went to sleep. And I want to tell you that, reading these books, you might think, oh, I'm just reading it, but the mind is so powerful. It might lead you to habits that, thank God I didn't delve into it, but I know of people who have started or delved into masturbation just because of things that they are reading, right? So you have to be really careful. That's why the Bible says, guard your heart diligently, for out of it comes the issues of life. So it's so important. So it was not until about 3 years into like just that journey of no romantic novels and all of that, and it was for the first time in my life that I knew that there was actually a genre. How do I pronounce that thing? But you know what I'm trying to say. But it was the first time I realized that there are actually people that are dedicated to writing love stories through the lens of God. For the first time, I start to open my eyes to see that there's a difference between love and lust. And it's so surprising because at this point, or at this time, I was already very comfortable with not reading books. I didn't need to read books, right? Okay, when I say read books, I want to qualify that I'm talking about, okay, maybe fictional, in the sense of, okay, maybe you're trying to read romance and all of that. So during all this period of time, you could read non-fiction and some stories that are not, I hope you really get what I'm trying to say. Yeah, but that was like, I got to see that there's some people that actually do write love stories, but write it honoring God and honoring God's idea or God's position on love, and how we should show love to our partners or the people that we're intending to get married to, and all of that. And it's so surprising that all of these things were existing during all of this period of time that I was delving into all of that, and God just brought them at a point that I didn't even know that I needed them. And honestly, that's really just a story of how God helped me and delivered me. And I think one of the very important thing about my prayer is not very specific to me. It's not because I'm special. Bible says God is not a respecter of man. You're special to God, and if there's anything you're struggling with, He can help you. But I think, just as I was sharing the testimony with you, I was prompted to just say this, that one of the things that actually made that prayer effective was godly sorrow. Bible says that godly sorrow leads to repentance. So there was a realization on my part that this was not good, and this was a stumbling block in my relationship with God. So it has to get to a space for you where you know that, okay, this is actually hindering something for me. This is bad. This is doing something. So whatever habit it is, you need to come to the realization that it's a problem either for you, for your spiritual life, for your family, for your finance, whatever it is. But there has to be that acceptance or that realization that this is actually a very bad habit. And that's it for this video. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, and see you in the next video.